not in charge of recruiting anymore, but I imagine yesterday had to be extra special for you.
Yeah, I always enjoy signing day. It's always a lot of fun here at Clemson, and that was yesterday was one of the days where we didn't know on a couple of the guys, and so when you wake up that morning, it's like game day. there's a lot of energy and excitement to kind of find out how everything's going to shake out. But no, it was a special day and really couldn't have gone any better.
Yeah, for you, because you talked about when you were 9, 10 years old, you would ride with your dad to recruit.
Right.
Trip. So you know what it's like to see your dad happy when he gets to land that big recruit. So for you, I mean, yesterday was like being a kid in the candy store.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think the best part was at the very end. We had ran off the practice field, and all of our coaches were up in the coaches' locker room, and we're waiting on KJ Henry. And really, it was one of the few times where they haven't told you at some point before their announcement, and it was dead silent in there until he announced Clemson, and then we celebrated like we celebrated in the locker room after the national championship game. It was just really awesome, and there's a lot of time and energy by a lot of the coaches and really support staff, and so many things that go into recruiting these guys for 2 years leading up to that one moment, and that never gets old. It's exciting.
The way that KJ did his announcement with Coach Murph, does that kind of give a glimpse into the character of KJ Henry?
Absolutely. KJ's a first-class young man, comes from a great family, and that's why we felt like we had a chance because he's a great fit. And that's the unique thing here at Clemson is Coach Sweeney and the staff have done a great job of creating a culture around here that is very defined. And we can tell in the first 5 minutes that we meet a young man and his family, we can tell right there that, hey, we got a great shot with this one in the end, or you know what, he might not be the best fit. And KJ is a guy from the very beginning we felt like would be a great fit here at Clemson. And I thought it was great too afterwards, whoever the announcers were at the end, they said, hey, that's Clemson's getting a Clemson guy right there. And so for other people to be able to see that, I think really speaks, is a huge compliment to our players and the way that they've conducted themselves here over the last few years.
How do you compare physicality with Alabama's defensive backs to some of the others?
Yeah, I think they're a elite group, very similar probably to Auburn earlier this year, and also Miami. We had a lot of. We felt like Miami was going to be one of the toughest groups that we went against. Just watching the video. I mean, this late in the year, when you watch, I think Alabama's had 12 games. So you go back and watch every one of those games, and every single ball that's completed is contested. There's a guy right there in the guy's face, and it's just a guy, finishing a catch, and the DB sitting there trying to knock the ball out. There's no freebies, and that's what the great defenses do, and the great defensive backs. They don't give you anything. You have to really go out and be physical and earn it, and so it'd be a great matchup. It's been a really good matchup the last 2 years, and I feel like they're just as talented this year. There's really no drop off whatsoever.
Do you feel like that's something you need to talk to or that you are talking to some of the younger guys about? The team maybe didn't get off that big against South Carolina, that kind of stuff. You need to see more of that kind of physical.
Yeah, we talk about that all the time, and really this late in the year when you start getting to these championship games, it's really all about matchups. It's just like our offensive line's got a big matchup versus their defensive line, and our wideouts have a huge matchup with their DBs, and so we're constantly talking that, and we're watching video, and I went back and showed my guys the last 2 years, all the passes we caught and the balls that we didn't catch, and why, and because you want those young guys, those freshmen that maybe watched the game on TV or was not there, you want them to be able to see it and learn from the good and the bad, because we don't want there to be any surprise whatsoever when they step on the field of how physical the matchups are going to be.
Speaking of those matchups, I asked Hunter yesterday about going up against Fitzpatrick for the third time, and he said that he was really excited about it. Of course, 2 years ago, Hunter was the kind of unknown quantity, and Fitzpatrick was a 5-star guy, and Hunter got the better of him. How nice is it to know you have a player like that, going up against such an All-American like Fitzpatrick, to have the confidence that Hunter has?
Yeah, I mean, it's two great players going against each other. I mean, they go back and, again, watching the video from the last 2 years, it's a battle. and now they get the third opportunity to go against each other. And you know, I know how hard their guys are working. I know how hard our guys are working. You know, our guys know, Hunter knows he's got a target on his back, but that's when he's been at his best. You know, whenever on these big stages. So I don't expect anything less out of him this time. Not really. I think, you know, for us, we're really looking for the right fit. So it's really, you know, we don't go off of a list or just off of who may be ranked the highest, or, you know, we're really out trying to find the most talented guys that fit Clemson. And so those guys, once we can kind of find that out, you know, sometimes they're in Florida, sometimes they happen to be in Georgia. You know, last year they were in Tennessee, and so it really is wherever they're located. But you know, just like how we talk about, Coach Sweeney always talks about, you know, when we're playing an opponent, we're not worried about the opponent, we're worried about ourselves. It's not who we play, it's how we play. And really in recruiting, it's the same way for us. We're not really worried about who we're recruiting against or where the guys are located. It's really about seeing if they fit at Clemson and seeing if they're interested in Clemson. And, you know, we feel like we've got a great product to sell. And it really sells itself, and all we have to do is kind of be the messenger and get out there and show it to them. So really, regardless of the coaching changes and all those things that go on, you know, I just think obviously our consistency that we have, you know, gets being more and more valuable each time that there's turnover out there, but it really doesn't affect our recruiting in our minds.
But obviously Georgia looks to be more of a battleground state, especially the way Georgia's recruiting now.
Yeah, they're doing a really good job. You know, whenever you're recruiting the caliber of players that we're recruiting, you know, it's kind of like, I've told this story before. Whenever I was a little kid and I'd go fishing with my dad, he'd give me two options. He'd say, we go over here and we can catch the small brim, and we can catch a bunch of them. It'll be really easy. Or we can go over this end of the lake and try to catch these big bass, and you may catch one every hour. And so whenever you get to these big time players, you know, it's very competitive, and you have to be willing to jump in the ring. And you're going to win some, you're going to lose some. That's really where we've gotten to as a program. And you know, I think for us, again, you know, it's about the right fit, and I keep saying that, but it's critical. You can go down our signing list, and you know, not only are these guys very talented guys, but they fit Clemson. I mean, their character, their families, I mean, they're going to be a great fit. And I think that's what happens. People have asked what's changed in recruiting with the success. I don't feel like it's necessarily that we're just getting a lot of better players than we've had in the past, but I think now we're able to be even a little bit more pickier to make sure that we're getting the best player and the best young men that could come in and represent our program the right way. Yeah, he's a guy we're very excited about. You know, played quarterback in high school, but I had him in our football camp, and it looked like he played wideout his entire life. Just very, very natural, very fluid, strong hands, catches the ball extremely well, has a burst and an acceleration that I think is elite. I think he's going to have to get bigger and stronger, but that'll come whenever he gets here, you know, getting in the weight room. But very competitive young man, and you know, I think in our offense, we're looking for guys that are dangerous with the ball in their hands, get the ball to them in space, and he fits right in that mold with some of the guys we've had in the past.
Going back to the battleground states, what does it say about this program? You can go into Ohio and take out the #1 guy there.
Yeah, you know, that recruiting Jackson kind of reminded me of Christian Wilkins. You know, Christian Wilkins, he had all of these great programs right there around him, and for him to fly over all of those to come to Clemson, I think it's because he was able to see maybe the things that were special about Clemson, and not only see that, but he put value in that. Sure. And I really think that's was a big difference for Jackson Carman. I think, you know, for him, the easiest thing might have been to stay closer to home, but I really think, you know, he was able to see that there was something special down here, and he wanted to be a part of that. And you know, in all my years of recruiting, I can't remember anybody that had been to Clemson only 2 times. You know, he had 2 quick visits to Clemson and being that highly rated of a player, for him to choose Clemson, you know, I think that meant his visits here were very powerful. And you know, but he reminds me a lot of Christian. He's got a lot of talents, and he's a very unique individual, very smart, intelligent, and has a lot to him off the field. And I think that helped us.
What was it like when that news came in? How did you find out, and was it much of a surprise to you?
Yeah, it was very unique. We didn't know. We knew that we were in it more than what the outside. I think everybody around here was focused on another guy, and we were really focused on Jackson, and it was kind of nice to kind of keep that very quiet, because that's hard to do this day and age in recruiting with all of the different media and sources and everything out there. So we knew we were in it, but we didn't know if he would be strong enough really to pull the trigger at the end and choose Clemson. Like happens a lot of time, you know, the night before he went silent and wouldn't take anybody's calls or text messages or anything. So the next morning we were actually doing our signing day show, and Coach Caldwell got a text from his coach that said, okay, he's going to be a Tiger. He's getting ready to call Coach Sweeney. And Coach Sweeney was on the stage doing his announcements and talking about our class, and so I had to get over there to the side of the stage without distracting him and try to ask Miss Kath for his phone. And so she went up to him and got his phone, and so I was holding his phone. He was trying to figure out what that was all about while he was talking. He was doing a great job. He kept going, and then finally I looked down and it says Jackson Carman FaceTime, and so I had to interrupt and get Coach down. And then later I find out Coach actually did not know who he was FaceTiming with, because I had to answer it. I got him in the hallway, and he thought it, at first, I think he thought it was Xavier Thomas. So he was trying to figure out what was going on, if everything was okay. And then once he figured out it was Jackson, he got really excited. And, you know, and then after he told us he was going to choose Clemson, Coach Sweeney had to run back in there with a straight face and go on about it, because he couldn't comment on it, because he hadn't announced, first of all, his signing, then we hadn't got the paperwork. But that literally is the first time that we knew. Other than that, we knew that his mom really liked Clemson. We knew he liked it, but he had not told us that he was coming up until that point.
Was there a point in this recruitment maybe earlier where you were like, oh, wait a minute,
yeah, there were some conversations before his official visit, because he was going to be the only one coming in. And, you know, we asked Coach Caldwell, do you really think that, you know, we're in it? Because he'd only been here one time. His mom had never been down here. And Coach Caldwell said, yeah, I believe we are. Every time that I go up there, you know, his coach says he really likes Clemson. His mom really wants to get down here. And so going into that official visit, you know, we really, you know, didn't know where we were. But, you know, we were willing to give our best, put our best foot forward. And I think he had a great official visit. Then he went to Southern Cal and really liked that. So we really didn't know coming out of that Southern Cal visit where we were. It seemed like everybody around each program felt confident they were getting him, except us.
How much has the social media changed from the time you were recruiting coordinator?